Okay, so Eben, the floor is yours.
Yeah, all right, thanks. Welcome back again. Let me start by sharing my screen. Um, Let me know once you can see my screen.
Yes, you can see your slides.
All right, cool. All right, so this session will be around AWS, and we would focus on deploying applications from the front end side, and we'll also take a quick overview of the AWS console. So we will focus on the IAM, and then take a look at user groups. Then we'll take a look at users on AWS and roles and AWS policies. And from there, we'll take a look at Amplify itself, which we use mostly for deploying our front-end code. So tackle deploying existing applications to Amplify and deploying an application to S3 buckets. And then we'll take a look at redirects. And if we have time, we'll take a look at deploying your applications to AWS using the console. And I think we'll look at the config or ENV settings on AWS as well. So when we talk about the AWS IAM, it is an identity and access management service that we have on AWS. So basically, that is what control or access to AWS resources. Before you can get access or you can be granted access to any AWS resource, you need to have an identity and access management. It could be a user who log in with username and then password, or it could be an API which is making a call to an AWS service using some set of credentials. With IAM, you can centrally manage permissions that control which AWS resources users can access. So for AWS, the person who creates the account initially. So let's say you log on to AWS Management Console and then you create an account. The first person who created the account is tagged as a root user. And henceforth, the root user can create multiple users. The root user can give permissions to other users. The root user can delete other users, and the root user can as well revoke permissions that has been granted to other users. So the IAM, or the identity access management, is a very crucial part of AWS. If you manage it properly, you are going to get a good use of it. And if you don't manage it properly, you could also compromise access to your AWS. IAM user groups. So inside the IAM console, or inside the AWS management console, we have something that we call user groups. A user group is a collection of IAM users. For example, let's say in Nalu, we have different employees in Nalu who try to access the same AWS account. Typically, we would want to have user groups for our different users. The reason why we would want to do that is that it can easily help us to specify permissions for the collection of users. For example, we can group users into different departments: finance, developers, DevOps, and then testing. If you look at the diagram on the right-hand side, there is a root account that has the key on top of it. Below it, you see those labeled green. We have the groups. One group is admin, another group is developers, another group is test. So what this is doing is that one person will log in as a root user, and that person who logs in as a root user will create different groups. And after creating the groups, can add users to the different groups. And once we do that, it will help us to track the kind of permissions that each of the groups have. For example, developers can read and write to S3 buckets, but finance can only read from S3 buckets. We can place or say under finance, and then we'll place all the developers under the developer user group. If we want to update the permissions for, let's say, any developer or all developers, we don't have to go into their individual accounts and then do it one by one. We can just go and then we update the permissions that have been assigned to the group, and then it affects all the developers. If you want to revoke the read and write access for a particular resource, you can do it, and it affects everyone in the group. Another good thing that we have is policies. So typically, a policy is just an object in AWS that defines permissions. The structure looks more of a JSON structure. It has keys and then it has values. And you can have multiple of them. There is no limit to the number of policies that you can define on the AWS Management Console. So if you take a look at the example over here, this is a policy statement that is specifying an effect which is allow on an AWS resource, which is Lambda. So what this means is that for all resources located inside AWS Lambda, those of you who don't know AWS Lambda is one of the services of AWS, which we use to run code in the cloud. For example, you have a long-running task which may consume resources beyond your service capability. You can offload that code to AWS Lambda, and it will run that code efficiently for you. So this is allowing actions on all AWS resources located inside the Lambda. And when you copy this and then you paste it, when you copy this and then you paste it inside the policy statement, AWS knows what you're actually talking about. Let's go to the AWS console and let's see if we can kind of demo what I'm talking about. So if you can see the AWS console, please let me know. Is it visible?
Yeah, even can see your.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. Okay, so sometimes when I come here, I am unsure where to find what. So the search feature helps me a lot. I want to go to the I am console. I just type it here and then it takes me there straight away. Okay, so over here, this is the access management. This is reports. We'll not look at reports at all. We'll just take a look at the access management. I'll click on user groups. And then I'll try creating a new group over here. So to create a new group, we need a name for the group. So the group name could be, let's say, demo doc group. And once I have a good name for my group, the next thing is to add users to the group. This is optional. I can decide to add the users later. So for now, I'll not add any user. The next thing also is that attach permission policies to the group. So these are a set of AWS policies. There are quite a number of them. You can have your own custom policies, which you can define on AWS. And then there are also default AWS policies. Let me see if I'll get something relating to S3. Okay, so something like this, this policy, Amazon S3 full access. When I check this policy and then I attach it to this group, it means that every user that will be assigned to that group will have full read and then write access to Amazon S3 features. If I look for Lambda, let me see if I'll get something Lambda. Yes. Okay. So this is AWS Lambda full access. So if I check this policy and then I add it to the group name, means that everyone who will be attached to this group will have full access to AWS Lambda resources. For now, I'll just leave it blank. If you want to check all two, fine, you can, but that will be very catastrophic. But I'll just leave it blank for now. After that, the next thing is to create the group. So the group is being created. Okay, so I have demo talk group, and let me go to users. So I want to create a new user. So let's say demo user. The next thing is provide user access to AWS Management Console. If you want to do that, fine. If you don't want to, for now, I'll not do that. And then I'll go to next. So here I have the option to add the user to any of these groups. So I have two groups available here. One is developers, and then one is demo talk. If I add it here, it means that the user, look at the attached policies on the right over here. So I selected Amazon S3 full access. So that policy has been attached to this group. If I proceed to create the group, let's see. I may want to add a tag which can help me to easily identify the users, but I don't think I'll add it. Let's say demo tag. The value is demo talk. This one will just help you to easily know what the users are for. It's just it's very optional. You can leave it if you don't want to set it. So I'll create my user. Okay, so the user has been created. So over here, this is my demo user. And the only thing they can have access to, so far as AWS is concerned, is S3. Aside S3, if this user tries to do anything, they will be denied. If I want to give more permissions to this user, I can go to the group and then attach the permissions to that group. I've expanded it, and you can see over here, this is the structure of what I was trying to show you earlier, the policy. Let me see. Yeah, so this is a typical example that I was trying to show you. So what this means is that we have created a statement which allows operations on everything that is located inside S3. Okay. So yeah, I think this is how we can create a group. We also have user roles. An IAM role is an identity that you can create that specifies permissions with credentials that are valid for short durations. Yeah, more like the users, but this ones, they don't last long. So they have some default roles that they have created over here. For example, amplify, react, blah, 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 say hello, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so these are just some default roles that are over here. If I want to create mine, I just come here and then follow the prompts. And then, yeah, I'll be able to create it successfully. So I will go over the importance of policies and then user groups again, and then we can proceed. So the reason why we need user groups and then policies is that the user groups will help us to easily manage the different users in the organization with different privileges in their respective roles. And then the policies help us to define those set of permissions. For example, finance can read files that we have uploaded to S3. They can only see. We don't want a situation where finance will make a mistake and then go and delete a file mistakenly. So we will revoke rights and edit access for finance. Now, the way we can do that is by defining a policy. So it's like the policies are set of permissions that have been defined and then attached to the respective users. So if you have user with all the policies defined in AWS, what that means is that that user can do virtually almost everything. If you have a user with limited policy statements, means that the things that the user can do is very limited. Sometimes you can even create a user who cannot reset their own password. It's possible. You just have to revoke some of the access some of the IAM access that you give to that user. So if the user has an issue with their password, they need to contact an administrator to help them with that. So yes, we'll take a look at redirects also. So on the front end, redirects are very important so far as our applications are concerned. By default, AWS tries to do a lot for you. However, sometimes when you set your configurations and you get them wrong, it could lead to broken pages in your application, or it could even lead to your site not being accessible. Redirects enable a web server to reroute navigation from one URL to another. For single-page applications, we can use redirects to avoid broken links. The first one that we'll take a look at is 301 redirect. Let me share my screen. I will show you 301 redirect. I think we are using that inside the SMS portal. Okay. I hope, yeah, you can see this screen. Let's check SMS portal production, rewriting, redirects. Okay, so inside the SMS portal, we have a set of rewrites and redirect rules that we have written over here. I think we'll do more of the demo, and then when we get back to the slides, we just brush through and then, yeah, we'll leave there. So let's take a look at the 301 redirect. That is a kind of a permanent redirect. For example, inside our SMS portal, we had to do a lot of restructuring and rerouting. There are some of the domains that are very not straightforward, a bit tricky, and a few of them a little cumbersome. We had to do some configurations to get around those kind of domains. If you take a look at /SMS portal /nalu, we are doing a 301 redirect. A 301 redirect will occur at the client side. So what that means is that when the user hits the browser and then the browser sees this kind of URL, automatically it's going to force the page to move to /nalu/. At some point also, we had an issue with the trailing forward slashes. So we had to define another one. When you hit /SMS portal /nalu without a /, then we bring you to /nalu. These ones, we won't change them. They are going to be there for the lifetime of the application. There is another one, 404 rewrite. So for single page applications, what happens is that, especially with React, what happens is that during build, all the files that we have inside our application, they are minified and they are bundled into a single file, and they are all saved from index.html. Unlike the traditional folder structure like HTML, CSS, then JavaScript files. This one doesn't behave like that. During development, you can have a very nice folder structure, but when it is being pushed to the production server, everything is broken down and everything gets messed up. Um, if you do, let's say, /SMS portal /nalu locally, maybe you could get it working because you are on your local host and then the files are available and it knows the files. But once it is bundled and minified, we don't even know the location of which file. So we tell the hosting provider or whichever service is serving our files to reroute everything, whether you know where the file is or you don't know where the file is. Just reroute everything to /. That's the root folder or the root of the application. So if you hit /, let's say SMS portal /nalu, we are really not interested in where that file is located. Just force it to come back to /. Once it gets to /, it's going to hit, if it's, for example, React application, it's going to hit the root, which probably is app.js, which will later be compiled into, when you go to that public folder, you have index.html inside. Once it hits that location, it knows where to go and get the exact resource that you are looking for. If you don't do it that way, and then you leave your routing as it is, the first page is going to render fine. When the user goes to any other page, on the first instance, you may get it working, but when they do a hard refresh, all pages that are not the index page will be broken, and then you get maybe a blank screen or maybe a 404 or whatever. That's how come we are forcing that all routes should be moved to the index.html. And for something like React, most of the routing, we do it locally using the client-side browser, which knows the location of the various files. For example, if we are using a React router, if we tell it to go to /, let's say dashboard, it knows where to go and find /dashboard. But AWS Amplify really doesn't know where that service, that file is located. So yeah, I think that's how come we do this kind of redirect. Let me go to the release portal. So yeah, let's try this here. Let's go to the right. Wait, let me click here. So go to / node test. Let me see what we have here. Okay. So I'm going to edit this a little. This is not going to affect production, so you can play around with this thing a little. So let me just change it to something which will not work. Let me see. Let's try this. Let's just try this and see. Okay, so I have gone into the console and then we had a redirect 404 and then I've changed it to something else. Let me refresh this one to /node test. Okay, so our page is broken. That's because when we're doing the configuration, we got something wrong. We are telling index.html to do a 301 redirect, which basically isn't forcing all our files to route from index.html. So if I go to, let's say, now do I print this? The page is still broken. It tries to access it from here, but AWS doesn't know what we are talking about. So that's why I was saying that if you get your configuration wrong, you may feel like maybe you have done something wrong when you are building your packages also, but not knowing maybe you have a mistake with your configuration. If I change this back to a 404 rewrite or redirect, either of them work, and then save it, and then come back to nalo-test. It's loading. Okay, so now we don't have it broken. The page is accessible now. So that's one way that the redirects can affect your application. Okay, let me go back to the slides. A moment. Okay, so 301 redirects are intended for long-lasting changes to the destination of a web address. So if you do a 301 redirect, means that you don't plan changing it now. And a typical example here is you are redirecting /app/dashboard to /app. So anybody who tries to access your app with this URL will be forced to navigate to /app. Search engine ranking history of the original address applies to the new destination. So let's say you had some kind of Google Analytics going on when you were using /app/dashboard. When you do a 301 permanent redirect to /app, those search engine rankings that you already had or the history that you had will still apply to the new URL. And this is a temporary 302 redirect. So for this one, maybe for now, you want to redirect all changes to /app, but in the next few weeks or in the next few days, you are not sure whether it's going to remain or not. You plan to change this later. So instead of using a 301, you just use a 302 redirect. Redirection occurs on the client side. So yeah, for some of the redirects, they occur on the provider side. For example, if we are using AWS, AWS will do the redirection before it gets to the browser. But for this one, it will happen at the browser side, and you will see the change inside the URL. Search engine ranking history of the original site doesn't apply to the new destination. So yeah, one difference between the 302 and the 301 is quite straightforward. The search engine rankings will not apply for this scenario. A 200 were right. So 200 rewrites are intended to show content from the destination address as if it was served from the original address. So we don't want the users to see that we are redirecting /payment/wayami to /payment/nalopay. So we don't want them to see what's going on. So we are going to do a 200 redirect. For this kind of redirect is going to happen on the server side, even before the browser receives the pages. So the client isn't going to even see the old URL inside their navigation. And one good thing about this is that if you had search engine rankings, it continues to apply over here. In a single page application, we can use 200 rewrite to redirect all pages to index.html to be handled by the client-side router. So like I was saying previously, if you have an application like React, which we use at Nalo, by default, the only page that is accessible is the index.html page, which is the root, because the single page application saves all files from the root. So if you move to / let's say dashboard/send SMS, by default, that page is broken. So if you use the 200 redirect, like we're trying to do on the AWS console, it's going to force all those kind of routing to move to /, which is the root. And once it gets to the /, all the files are there. So it knows how to save it from the /. If you don't do that, once the user does a hard refresh, every page that they have visited will be broken. If you copy a link and then you send it to the users to access it from maybe their WhatsApp or anything. Once they click on the link, it will be broken because it is not being saved from the roots structure. 404 redirect. So for redirect, okay, when a request points to an address that doesn't exist. Yeah, so I think what we have said so far kind of covers 404 redirect. So you navigate to a page which doesn't exist, or you navigate to a page which the current router doesn't know where to find the file. In that page, sorry, in that case, you are going to get either a blank page or a 404 page. So we force all of them to go back to the root index.html. Okay, so I think we would do some kind of deployments to S3, and we'll do some kind of deployments to Amplify as well. I think we may try to time in allow us. There are three, but we use two most often, so we'll try the two. Before that, there is a question here. I'll just leave it and then wait to hear from someone if they have an idea or they have something to share before we can proceed. So yeah, here is it. The question is, why do we need AWS user groups and policies? I think if there is someone who has an idea why they think on the AWS console, we should create user groups, or we should create some set of policies. So I'll give like some 30 seconds for someone to respond. Okay, I think there's no one. We'll still come back to it anyway.
Even,
Yeah.
yeah, let me mention some names, because
Yeah.
so I can see, I don't know everybody here. Um, okay, so Fred Asari too. Fred,
Yeah,
please answer the question.
I would say it helps us clearly define the roles of a user on the AWS. And he made the example of finance, where if finance was able to edit, they could possibly delete some files, but we have made it in a way they can only view so that it doesn't interrupt the workflow.
Yeah, paying attention. Even how many marks over 5?
I think yeah, that's good. Maybe 3 or 4 or 5. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So should someone else add up, or you are okay?
Oh, it's fine. Like it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
All right, all right.
Okay. So let's take a look at Amplify manual deploy. So what are we doing here? Let me see. Create a project and deploy to GitHub. Log on to Amplify console and create a new app. Okay, that's quite simple and straightforward. I have, let me share this. Let me know once you can see. I think you can.
Yeah, we can see your.
Yeah, this that we are coming to do should be quite straightforward. I think it should take
Mhm.
us 30 seconds to finish. Yeah, some of us have been doing this, I think over and over. Yeah, so we want to deploy an existing application to Amplify. So you just come to the Amplify console. Let's say you are here, you don't know where to go to. Just type Amplify here, and it brings you all the services under this, and then you just select. So once you select, it brings you to the Amplify console. You hit New App. So under the New App, we have two options. One is host web app, and the other is build an app. For the purpose of this, we use the host web app. If you pick the build an app, it will take you through the entire process of building a new application and then pushing it to AWS, so Amplify, using the AWS CLI. Yeah, we would have done that, but time will not allow. So we'll do host web app. And then I'm going to pick the application from GitHub. If you have yours on Bitbucket, you can do, and GitLab as well, you can do. But I have mine on GitHub. So I just select GitHub and then click on continue. So what happens is that for the first time you do this, AWS will request to connect to GitHub. So you have to allow permissions inside your GitHub for AWS to connect to GitHub and then select your repositories. I've done that already, so I think it came here straightforward. I have to select the application that I want to deploy. I have a test application, which is Amplify Manual Test. So I'll pick this. Once I pick this application, I have to select a branch. So let me deploy the main branch. And I click on next. So over here, I can see something like build settings. And then in the build settings, I have this thing over here. Let's click on edit and then see what this looks like. So in the SMS app, we use this build settings a lot. We realized that some of the configurations and settings that we were putting inside the code, they were becoming plenty, and sometimes when something changes, you have to come to the code, you change it before you deploy, and then it takes effect. So what we did was that we moved all the configurable parts or the settings that we can dynamically update. We move them into a file which looks more of a JSON. That JSON file, we are not keeping the exact content inside the code that we push to GitHub. We are pushing the content itself inside let's say a JSON file, and then during build time, we invoke the bash or the shell to kind of echo the script into AWS Amplify. So let me see if I can get, let me see. Hold on, I'll share my screen and I'll show you that later. But what we do is that we call the shell, and then it will just kind of write the content of that file into the repository or into the project at the time when it is compiling the stuff or it is building the stuff together. The reason we didn't want to do that was that maybe some of the things, if you keep them in the code, we wouldn't want to expose it to people who go through GitHub and then just try to go through the source code. So by injecting it inside the shell script, it just makes it straightforward, and then it will add it to the files. So when you pull the repository for SMS portal, and then there is a file called env.json. Close to that file, there is env.example.json. The exact structure of the env.json is inside env.example.json. If you miss that file, your application will not be able to won't be able to run. You'll be getting errors along the line. So yeah, you can do that at the pre-build phase, or you can do that at the build stage. For SMS, I think we are doing it at the build stage. So just before it is putting the files together, it will quickly create a new file, and then it will write the content inside that new file, and then the file becomes part of the project. So for this one, I really don't want to do anything inside this build settings. I'll just go to next and then continue. So I can save and deploy. I think everything looks good here. The details are fine. The app settings are fine. Yeah, we can proceed. So it is deploying. Let's hope that it deploys fine, so we don't hit any issues. We don't have time for issues. Okay, good. So it is deploying. So for those of you who have not interacted with the front-end part of the deployment, that's how we do ours. Everything is managed by Amplify for us. So my main branch, so at this point, Amplify is watching my main branch. If I go to my terminal, then I do any changes to the code and then push to GitHub, GitHub will notify Amplify, and then Amplify will also update their code. It will rebuild again, and then it will deploy. So everything happens automatically. When we want to go live, that's how we do it. We create a PL to develop, and then we merge. Once we merge, automatically it get deployed, and then Amplify also updates it. When we are going live, the same thing. We create a PL, we merge, and then once it is merged, automatically Amplify gets it, and then it deploys it. So yeah, this is quite straightforward for deploying an application to Amplify. Let's try S3. So if you have a static application, you don't want to go through all the Amplify processes, you can just come to S3 and then copy the files and then drop them here. Once you do that, S3 will start serving your files for you. But before we do that, we need to create a bucket inside S3 and then give the bucket public access, because people will be accessing it from the wider internet. So let's do an example. Create a bucket, the name of the bucket, and then the region where the bucket is located. So typically, I would want to select a region that is close to me. Let's go with the default. US East 2. Let's just go with that. So demo, let's see, bucket, doc, demo bucket doc. It will ask if I want to copy the settings from anywhere, which I don't want to. Object ownership, I think I'll go with the default. Now this part is very important. Public access settings for this bucket. I'll uncheck this and then leave the bucket as public. And then tag is optional. I want to create a tag. Encryption type, I'll leave it as default. Bucket key is enabled, I'll leave it like that. Then I'll create my bucket. Did I do? So I hit on create buckets. Oh, sorry. So AWS is telling me that I've left my bucket as public and everyone else can access it. I'm not sure I want to do this here. For the purpose of this, yes, we want to do this. So I'll check the box and then I'll create the bucket. Okay, so once the bucket is created, I'll click on the bucket itself and then I'll go to properties. And then scroll down, I'll see something like static site hosting. I'll edit this and then enable static site hosting. So I am sure I want to use this bucket for hosting a static site. So I'll just, yeah, I'll do this, then I'll save. Okay, yeah. So like I was saying, there's an error here that we need to do. It is looking for the root or where to save the files from. So I want it to start from index.html. Index.html, and then I'll save it. And then permissions. So let's go to permissions. I need to edit this. And then there is S3 policy that I have to add. Let me see. Add a new statement. S3 actions. Let's see, get object. Let's see this. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is that we mentioned earlier that we need to attach policy statements to grant permissions. So I've created a bucket and then I'm trying to tell AWS that if somebody wants to access anything on S3, there's a get action, it should allow it. So yeah, I'll just save the changes. The principal, and then my AWS resource name. So the AWS resource name is this. I'll copy this and then let me put it here. Okay. I need to allow access to, so this is the ARN. The ARN is the AWS resource name. And then, I think I've already this thing. I'm telling AWS to allow every action on this bucket. So /* yeah, just that. I think this should be okay. Let me see if the changes. Okay, so this statement is there. Okay, so let's go to the bucket and then let's try to upload something. So let me upload some files to this bucket. I'll go to, let me see if I'll get a sample application. So I'll look for an application and then we can use that one to try. So React. A moment. If I find that. Okay, so I have this application here. I'll just show you build. It's a React application. Error. So I'm using node 21. Let me use node 16. Maybe there's an error with the packages. So let build. Okay, so the build is successful. After building, I have this folder here. So this is the folder that I'm going to move to S3, this build. When you open it, you have all your assets here, and then you have your index.html here. This is the one that we have been talking about all this while. So I'll copy all these ones and then bring them here. We just bring all of them here. Okay. And then let me check if everything is there. Okay, so let me upload. So yeah, the files have been uploaded. Some have succeeded. We have about 2 remaining. Okay, everything is successful. Let's wait for, okay, yes. Now we can go back. Okay, so when I go to the properties, it will give me a URL, this URL, which we can use to access the application. Good. So this is the application that we just hosted. When you come down here, you can copy this URL and then share it. If you want to configure a custom domain, I think that's for another talk. You can configure that custom domain like Andy and then Eric demonstrated. You go into your domain provider and then you create a CNAME or an ANAME record to point to this site that you have hosted. And then once the users click on that record that you have created, the URL, it will bring them to this bucket that you have, sorry, this site that you have hosted. Let me go here and then try to revoke some of the permissions for us to see something. So this bucket policy, I am coming to delete it. Let me delete this. But before that, I'll copy. And then save changes. And then let's try to access Okay, so I've gone to revoke the permissions that I attached to the bucket. And then once I try to access my application, it is not accessible anymore. The feedback is 403 forbidden and the access is denied. That's because there is no policy statement that instructs AWS to point or to direct incoming traffic to the resources inside this S3 bucket. So for it to be accessible, I just have to edit my bucket policy and then I'll add the statement back and I can save. Once I save the changes and try again, the site is accessible. So yeah, I think that should be it for uploading files to S3 or serving your static websites from S3 and then also serving your applications from Amplify. So I was going through and then I also realized that, let's go to buckets. The stuff that I pushed to S3, sorry, Amplify, they were also brought to S3 buckets. So I did this Amplify deployment. It came to S3. I did this demo talk. Okay, this is what we just did. I did this React and I did that React application. They all came to S3. So I think in a way, the Amplify also makes use of the AWS S3. Yeah, so I think, yeah, that's it for this demo. If anybody has something to add up, I think that would be appreciated. Otherwise, I think we should be good for the presentation and the demo. Yeah, this was the last one, but we want to take a look at it. Let me click on this and then take you there. You can do it on your own later. No, I think I want this instead. Yeah, this on this. I'm sharing this in the chat. This is just a bunch of instructions. If you want to build a full stack application with Amplify, it will deploy the front end part for you and then also deploy the back end parts for you. I tried this, it worked fine, but it won't be able to go through because it will take time. It's just a bunch of instructions that you have to follow. Once you follow this, everything will work fine for you. So yeah, I think we won't do this. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I believe you can still take a few questions if there are any.
All right, sure.
Okay, it looks like quite a number of the people are new to AWS. Okay, can I see by hand if you've had any experience with AWS? I want to just check something. If you've done anything on AWS before, can you please show by hand? Okay, Joseph, I see you. Wow, just Joseph. Okay, Lawrence. Okay, okay, that's fine. So, Eben, once again, thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much. So, okay, there's a question. Joseph, is there a question you have?
Yes, I have a question. You can hear me.
Okay, okay, please, you can go ahead.
Yeah, well, I want to ask today I am I am management, right? So I noticed that we have permissions, right? You can see all the instances on EC2. That was before, but I think it has been changed recently. I don't know whether that is because before you could see everything like all the permissions. You had access to all the permissions. You can hear me.
I can't hear you clearly. I don't know if it's just me or the others.
It's better now. Can you hear me now?
I'm getting feedback.
Oh, is it better?
Nah, still. Oh, even did you hear the question?
Not really, but I heard something like they were able to access all the EC2 instances on AWS. So
Yes.
the IAM access that they have looks like somebody has revoked some of their permissions.
Okay. That's what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
Mm, that
Okay,
could
so
be, but I
that could
think,
be the case.
yeah,
Yeah,
Alex or
Alex.
Anthony,
I
Alex
wouldn't be surprised.
in
I wouldn't be
Instagram.
surprised because there's been some instances where the permissions for some users were revoked or uh, changed. It's happened
Mm,
before. So, Joseph, I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case. I wouldn't be surprised, especially if it happens that you're not doing any deployment or you are not adding anything, maybe changing configuration or something. I know recently Alex actually implemented a few security checks and then modified the permissions. So it could be.
mm,
Alex, are you around?
Yeah, I'm here. So,
Uh-huh.
Joseph, it depends on what you're looking at and what your job roles are. So, mostly we're trying to skew things to what your job role is. So, if you're not having a specific permission, you can reach out to Andy. He can sort you out. Okay, you get it. Hello.
Joseph,
Yeah, please, I get you. I get you.
I'm
Yeah,
fine.
so we
Okay.
can engage Andy. Yeah, we'll help you with adding more permission to.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, please, any more questions? All right. So, once again, I want to thank our resources for today. Uh, I want to thank Ebenezer. I want to thank Eric. I want to thank Andy, and of course, the professor himself, Alex, for day one of our infrastructure training. And thank you too for joining in and making the session a wonderful one. All things being equal, tomorrow we'll have a physical training. Okay, so like Alex mentioned, for those who want to partake in the Docker, kindly get the Docker installed on your system. Tomorrow we'll be doing. Let me quickly go over the topics we'll do tomorrow, so that those who have materials and want to prepare or ask questions can do so. So tomorrow we're doing mobile deployment for both the Android and then the iOS. We'll be doing deploying of Django backend with Docker. We'll also be doing Django deployment without Docker. And then we'll have a follow-up session to the USSD training that we had. So we'll do live practicals on the USSD training that we had sometime last month. So that's it for today. Tomorrow we'll start at 9 o'clock. Let's all do well to report to the office early so that we can start and then close on time. If there are no announcements, I would want to close the meeting. Is there any announcements? Is there any information?